everyone, and welcome to this new edition of Initiative Africa. And this week again, we continue to pull up the curtains to reveal innovators and actors shaking up Africa. We take a look at Africa on the move with stories of creativity and the preservation of cultural heritage. But before we delve into these inspiring stories, here is the summary of our program. Her film made history by becoming the first Moroccan film to win the Golden Star at the International Film Festival of Marrakesh. Find out how talented filmmaker Asmae Moudir captivated audiences and won this prestigious award in an exclusive interview.
The lack of memories in an intimate family raises the question of why we don't have family photos and why we don't have memories like everyone else. What inspired me to tell this story was both personal and collective memory.
For 5 days, the economic capital of Benin vibrated to the rhythm of the cinema of African women and its diaspora, offering a unique platform to emerging and established talents. Immerse yourself behind the scenes of the Cotonou International Women's Film Festival.
Today, I am extremely proud of what they can do. We read a script and I said to myself, for young people who have been learning screenwriting for 1 month, I'm extremely impressed by the quality with which they understand the teaching they've been given.
Exploring the interactions between modernity and tradition through the Ex-Africa exhibition at the Musée du Quai Branly, Jacques Chirac.
I'm fully aware of the concept of the end of primitivism, the end of an idea from the world of art, essentially a world of European and American art.
Essentiellement un monde de l'art européen et américain.
The Cotonou International Women's Film Festival showcased the cinematic genius of women from Africa and its diaspora. From 20 to 24th of February, Cotonou vibrated to the rhythm of this major event under the banner of sisterhood. On the program, high-level workshops and training, debates and passionate exchanges under the expert eye of a renowned jury chaired by director Lise Gomez, alongside African screen legend Michel Bohiri. Lefty Hunu reports from Cotonou.
The Cotonou International Women's Film Festival is an event that showcases talented women in cinema from Africa and its diaspora. Launched in 2019 in Benin by the president of Ekran Benin Association, Cornelia Glele, this biennial event, now in its third year, brought together actresses and directors from African cinema and its diaspora in Cotonou, Benin's economic capital, from the 20th to 24th February 2024. Focusing on the theme Women's Cinema for Greater Sisterhood, the 2024 edition of Cotonou International Women's Film Festival opened with a series of training sessions given by experts from various fields in the film industry. A roundtable of women filmmakers, as well as meetings and discussions. The jury of film professionals, chaired by journalist and director Lise Gomez, includes African film star Michel Bohiri. I'm coming with my experience, particularly that of practicing my profession. And I've been in the business for quite some time, so I'll be talking to anyone who wants to know a bit about my background. On the sidelines of 5th Cotonou 2024, young African filmmakers have received training in scriptwriting from François Elong Gomez, a Franco-Cameroonian Beninese scriptwriter. The aim of the workshop is to support and develop emerging talent in the film industry. The young Beninese director, Nelly Behanzin, who has made a name for herself in the big screen with her successful productions, has decided to take this training course as one of the workshops scheduled.
You read it, and at some point it clicked, something inside you. I'd like you to share it with us. Apart from the film, I decided to take part and get training in script writing. It was a great opportunity for me to learn the basics of it from François Elong, and I didn't hesitate. Today, I am extremely proud of what they can do. We read a script and I said to myself, for young people who have been learning screenwriting for 1 month, I'm extremely impressed by the quality with which they understand the teaching they've been given.
Cotonou International Women's Film Festival 2024 was marked by the revelation of the talents of the participants in the Kinowedia program run by the Ekran Benin Association, chaired by Cornelia Glele. 10 young women received 2 months training in film writing and directing techniques. Their fiction film entitled Malaika, shot in Parakou, a city in northern Benin, was screened to film enthusiasts during the festival.
We share a common vision of cinema and a passion and goal to defend women's rights. Producing this film about women, obstetric violence, and a whole host of other issues that are close to our heart as women is something quite incredible. It's an adventure that we're trying to live to the full.
To succeed Malian director Awa Aliou Ndiaye, winner of the Amazon d'Or at the second edition of Cotonou International Women's Film Festival with her fiction film Kuma, the challenge is considerable. A total of 18 films by women of the big screen from 14 countries competing in the Cotonou International Women's Film Festival 2024 edition were screened in Cotonou cinemas. Under the scrutiny of a jury of film professionals, 5 trophies will be awarded, including the Amazon d'Or for the best drama.
The festival drew a big crowd and we sold out every time. The audience included both men and women, so I'm very happy for that reason alone. We had some great guests.
This was the first time the room had been successively filled. Filled to overflowing, we couldn't close the doors because of the sound quality. That just goes to show the popular success of the event. And we are proud of the work that's gone into attracting this audience, so Artistic Africa is very pleased. At the end of a 4-day festival, Cotonou International Women's Film Festival came to a close with a ceremony to honor the women filmmakers who impressed the jury, chaired by journalist and director Lise Gomis. Beninese filmmaker Nelly Ben Hazen, who received scriptwriting training at Cotonou International Women's Film Festival, won the Amazon Prize for documentary for her 13-minute documentary entitled Corps de Femme or Pierre de Meaux, a 26-minute short film about forced marriage by Yasmine Delia Eboube Idou from Burkina Faso, won Amazon for screenplay.
My ambitions are huge, to make films that speak to me a little more and speak to the world. I don't want to stop at films about women all the time. The next film, for example, is completely offbeat. I'm taking my time to improve the script. That's the real message I want to get across. I'm going to work at making films again and again. I promise to work hard, not to disappoint all those who believed in me and gave me the strength by presenting me with this prize. Because I have a project in development that galvanizes me even more. If you don't want to fall back, you must keep going from strength to strength.
The Cotonou International Women's Film Festival Grand Prize Amazon d'Or went to the film L'Envoyé de Dieu by Nigerian director Amina Abdullahi Mamani. Cameroonian director Tatiane Chigua won the jury's Amazon for her film L'Attaché. The Amazon teller Umahu for acting was awarded to South African Sanduela Asanda for her film Miro Miro. The Accra Benin Association, chaired by the promoter of Cotonou International Women's Film Festival, works on 3 different fronts: gender issues in professional artistic cinematographic creation, societal concerns, and merit in particular. The 4th edition of Cotonou International Women's Film Festival will take place in 2026.
Despite her grandmother's warnings, young filmmaker Asmae Moudir digs deep into her family history while exploring a district of old Casablanca in her ingenious, handcrafted documentary film, The Mother of All Lies. Let's go behind the scenes of her creative work in an exclusive interview.
Hello Asmae, welcome to Initiative Africa. You are a filmmaker and you are in Paris for the launch of your new movie. Could you tell us about the origin of your movie, The Mother of All Lies?
The lack of memories in an intimate family raises the question of why we don't have family photos and why we don't have memories like everyone else. What inspired me to tell this story was both personal and collective memory. Regarding the question of archives, I love archives and I enjoy looking at images from the past.
Surtout quand il s'agit d'un père qui a filmé.
Especially when it's a father film or a country's archives.
Aussi l'archive d'un pays aussi, mais quand on trouve pas des choses.
But when you can't find things, you have this lack, which led me to make a film about memory.
Un film sur la mémoire.
Can you describe the central role that the discovery of photography plays in your film and how it challenges your childhood memories?
Vraiment, cette photo ne m'a
The photo never hurt me, really. Whether I was in the photo or not, it was just a memory.
Peut-être un faux souvenir que ma mère m'avait.
Maybe it was a false memory, like someone gave it to me to appease me because I was pestering them for a memory. And it was just a trigger to ask much more profound questions about why we don't have pictures of other subjects that are more important. It can be a symptom, which means that the home is just a thumbnail of what's going on in society.
Your film portrays the years of lead in Morocco. What message did you want to send?
Yes, I just wanted to tell my grandmother's generation that Morocco has changed. Today, we live in a different Morocco, a much better and more free Morocco. And we can look back on our past without fear. And most of all, I wasn't looking for the guilty parties or who did this or who did that. I was asking the question, can you tell stories if you don't have proof? And above all, the message, if there is a message, because cinema never has messages, it provokes. And what I've done in this film is to provoke things and raise questions about memory. The message will be, don't erase the memory, keep it whatever it is. White, black, it's our past. We must keep it, we must preserve it. It has to be an article for future generations, because if you don't have a memory, you can't have a future.
You also trace the theme of identity and the quest for personal truth. How did you decide to deal with these subjects, and what thoughts do you hope to provoke in the audience?
C'est bien on aime bien creuser.
It is good we like to dig and delve into family secrets. I'm the kind of person who likes to ask questions. And above all, I find myself asking questions of people who don't want to answer or have no answers. And that's why I insist. I'm a director, not a journalist. Because I'm never going to ask questions live. I will look, I'm going to investigate, but in a cinematic way. That helped me interact with my family and understand how they think. And also to be able to move around together. From the Morocco of yesterday, where they live, to this new Morocco where speech is free and you can create things in art. You never judge the imaginary. And there you have it. It was therapy for everyone in this film.
In the film, we see your father making models and figurines of your neighborhood. Can you tell us about the filmmaking process and the challenges you faced?
Yeah, it was difficult for me to shoot in a specific set. Also, I didn't have a timeline and I needed to determine when I would finish the film. So I had to create a film device that I could touch and control. It is like puppets, but the figurines are there to say, we are not puppets, we are living beings with a soul who can speak and free our speech. So for me, the device was this idea that came from my father, who is my partner in this film, and when I couldn't get permission to film in specific places, he told me to listen and we'll come back to the idea later. It was a proposal to best of me. So my father used to say, let's go back to the idea. When you were little, you and your brothers and sisters, I remind you, we made cardboard houses where you could play inside. Well, that was the whole idea. My father put it on a plan, but it was difficult for him. After 8 months of building, we called in a Moroccan team who helped with the construction and the making of the whole thing. And it was important for me to make this set, because I was more of a dictator and director, and I had more hands-on to be free in my creation and not be constrained by tones or closed doors.
Welcome to the second part of our show. With the recent worldwide craze for contemporary African art, a question is being raised in artistic circles. What is the place of ancient African art in contemporary art? The Ex-Africa exhibition at the Musée du Quai Branly-Jacques Chirac in Paris 2 years ago has given to 34 contemporary artists a platform to breathe new life into this ancient art and forcefully denounce a primitive vision of African art. While it was reduced to a plastic model by the Western artistic avant-garde of the early 20th century, the perception of traditional African art has changed with time and also with knowledge. This year in Paris, the Musée du Quai Branly-Jacques Chirac and its Ex-Africa exhibition looked into the question by giving the opportunity to 34 artists from the current contemporary scene to revive this ancient art with a strong idea, denounce a primitive vision of African art.
The
first thing is to reject the idea of African art being primitive, and which would only reflect the avant-garde history, what we call primitivism. It is quite clear what the word primitive means to understand what is wrong. Secondly, show how the ancient arts of Africa were swept up in a kind of consumerism movement and considered as pleasant decorative objects that could be reproduced. With a very lucrative counterfeit industry which is still going on today. And thirdly, how contemporary African and non-African artists embrace these forms to give them a purpose, a meaning, their own symbolism.
A connection between ancient African art and contemporary art, not just in the shapes and forms. The artists, through their artworks, have shaped the challenges of Africa today. This is the case of Beninese artist Romuald Asmae and his work named No Return.
Reviving the symbol of the sacred snake, the sacred python, using flip-flops and soles that were left by those who embarked on the beaches of Benin to try to get to Morocco and perhaps Europe.
Among the exhibiting artists, the Franco-Beninese Emo de Madeiros, showing a rather modern vision of traditional African art, with a series of works that immerse Africa in the digital era. Then, with Electro Fetish, a dematerialized version of the West African fetish art, the artist tries to create a connection, some kind of dialogue with the visitor. And the originality of the work is that it allows the visitors to make an offering using their mobile phones, and in exchange, they receive a propitiatory message.
Je présente aussi l'installation qu'on voit derrière moi, qui est composée de...
I also present the installation that we see behind me, which is composed of tin cans, wooden or 3D printed statuettes,
de calebasse,
calabash, electronic chips, and LCD screens which show the symbols of Ifa, which is a divination and philosophical system more specific to West Africa, Nigeria and Benin.
Philosophique, je dirais même plus généralement, ouest-africain du Nigeria et du Bénin.
A creation that also humorously challenges the codes inherited from primitivism, a snub to preconceived ideas about the art from the continent.
Je suis très sensible à cette notion.
I'm fully aware of the concept of the end of primitivism, the end of an idea from the world of art, essentially a world of European and American art.
Un monde de l'art européen et américain. Et d'autre part, de montrer...
And on the other hand, displaying vitality and power in these new forms and concepts.
Et ces concepts aussi.
In the final part of the exhibition called Activation, the Franco-Senegalese photographer Alan B questioned the future of Africa with a striking allegorical series on the rite of initiation.
Edification
is a series of 9 photos which represent each of the initiation rites of life. The common thread between these photos are these virtual reality helmets, which are here to symbolize the contemporary digital era that precisely skews the rites of initiation into life.
Les rites d'initiation à la vie.
An artwork that also takes us on a more introspective journey. The artist invites Africa to take control of its destiny and draw its strength from its traditional culture.
These ancient statues from Africa are the guardians of Africa's cultural heritage. After having passed these rites of initiation into life, we realize that our identity resides in our hands. We are masters of our destiny, and it is up to us to choose what we will do with the time we have and the actions that we take.
Breaking down misconceptions, showing its extraordinary vitality on the contemporary scene, this exhibition has changed our perception on ancient African art, which regains its letters of nobility, an additional value and lever to help us better understand this contemporary art of the continent. Today in full swing, with sales which have been multiplied tenfold in only 2 years, both on the European and American markets. And we go back to our guest Asmae Moudir in the rest of her interview. The Moroccan director talks about her filmmaking secrets. Take a listen.
How long did it take from the initial idea from your film to its final realization?
10 years from 2012 until 2023, but I wasn't working every day. There were times when I was depressed, when I couldn't find the setup, when I couldn't film with someone, when my grandmother said no, this and that. So there were a lot of constraints. Money, for example. I am the producer, so you have to find the money to come back, you have to pay the bills, you have to do this and do that. So I struggle physically and mentally, but I am very happy because the result was magnificent. It premiered at Cannes and is still going strong.
How did your personal experience influence the development and direction of your film?
Yes, I don't regret it because that's the time that all films should take. But I'm not going to wait 10 years to make another film because that takes energy and time. And I don't know why I'm creating fiction out of fact, but I am obsessed with realism, in other words, with reality. I love filming reality. I love discovering the stories of people and making films with them and not about them, and taking the time to talk to people who have never been in front of my camera, in front of any camera. And that's what interests me about cinema. When you make fiction, you always try to write stories to resemble reality, and I do the opposite. I take reality and make it look like fiction.
What lessons have you learned about yourself and your family history by uncovering your family secrets and lies through this film project?
I've learned that everyone can change and that when you decide or think about something, it's not the end of the world, but the decision itself. My grandmother, for example, who always thought that photos were no good, ended up taking a camera in her hand at the end of the film. It took me a long time to make my grandmother understand that my camera doesn't distort anything, doesn't change anything in God's creation, and that God creates people. We are Muslims and we think that, of course, God alone can make creatures like living beings or animals or anything that has ever been on earth. So that's what I've tried to keep, for example. Not to change anything about my grandmother's idea, but to let her understand that my camera isn't defending anyone. It's just a mirror that can transform, capture and keep archives and memories. So memories are precious. They must never be erased and they must be kept. We need to stay nostalgically, returning to our memories so that we can live and move on. Because when there's a lack, there's always a problem. And when we talk about it and tell stories about it or film it, it's like therapy and it passes.
How did your Moroccan audience respond to the film?
Moroccan audiences have really embraced this film and they have identified with this story, this grandmother and this past. I think we're changing the history of Moroccan cinema. We're in the process of bringing the public back to the cinema. And what's happening with this film now in Morocco is incredible. I am very happy to be doing these previews with my Moroccan public and to feel that we have the same aspirations and the same stories. We breathe the same ideas and have the same grandmothers that can be found in every home. It was great to do this preview screening in 3 Moroccan towns, the Cinémathèque de Tanger, Meknes Camera and the Lutetia in Casablanca. These 3 cinemas are magnificent. They date back at least 85 years. They are historic cinemas. It was a deliberate decision to hold preview screenings in places like this. I am really flattered. My Moroccan distributor is doing a magnificent job for the Tangiers Film Library. And there you have it. The film was released last week and everyone is talking about it in Morocco. It won the Grand Prix at Marrakech and the Gold Star. I think it's time for Moroccans to admire and defend their own cinema. Every nation promotes its own local cinema. We need the Moroccan people first and then the Africans. Yes, there's no denying that the Africans, the MENA region, helped this film a great deal. I am very proud that my region, my continent, supports our cinema.
Soutient notre cinéma comme le Maroc aussi qui soutient tout le
like Morocco too, which supports all African cinema. We work with African countries like Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal and Mali, also with Arab countries. My film is in co-production with 3 Arab countries. So I think what's generally happening in Africa, in our continent, is great. And it's a dynamic that will infect all young people in the cinema, in the 7th art, who love to tell stories.
Tous les jeunes du cinéma,
we have a message to tell them that we can all tell stories without images or proof. We can talk about our past. We can deliberate it. All we have to do is stay in the cinema, the art, and not the direct. That's why I insist, I'm not a journalist. You're a journalist, and that's a lovely profession, one that I respect. But it's just that the cinema has never been direct. That's why you have to take time to make a film.
What can we wish you for the future? What are your future film projects?
Je viens de finir la résidence du Festival de Cannes.
I've just finished my residency at the Cannes Film Festival.
Le prochain film, ça va pas prendre 10 ans, ça va prendre.
We're in the process of preparing the next film. It's going to take less than 10 years, but it's still going to take time. Because it's real, but it's fiction. It's a new adventure. I will do it like all the other adventures I've done before. I'm taking the time to get into my bubble, get away from social networks, and get back into the swing of things. Above all, I want to take the time to find my inspiration.
Prendre le temps à trouver mon inspiration, parce que c'est ça ce qui fait les films.
Because that's what makes the film. It's not about being on social networks all the time. That's not healthy.
C'est pas très. C'est bien de.
It's good to step back and get back into the creative world.
De la création. Ouais.
Thank you, Asmae.
Merci à vous.
Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. You can find the interview with Asmae El Moudir as well as our programs on our website africaonair.com, and of course don't hesitate to follow us on our social networks, and feel free to share, like and comment with the hashtag Initiative Africa, and don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same channel for Business Africa. Have a great week, and until next time, goodbye.